The thought had crossed my mind to film the removal of the 26-year-old Windlass. But once the battle began, it became a pretty intense effort. So much so, I didn't even want to film it at the time. Alright, just been working on this Windlass and looks like I got it removed. Okay, so yeah, you can see right here, the Windlass has been removed. So, just getting rid of all the old sealant here. A little bit from underneath the old Windlass here. So there's a number of little button snaps for the old Windlass cover. So I took those off and I just sort of enlarged those holes a little bit, drilled it out. And then I also, the original holes here, I drilled those out just a little bit bigger just to get some clean material. I'll probably do the same here, get that cleaned up around there, and you know, then block off the bottom, and then we'll fill this one all with epoxy. Once that's done, and then once it's all dried off, then I'll put down the new template, and we'll see where we'll see where everything fits. I already did a rough lineup, and it looks like it's going to come right in here nicely, and there's lots of room. All right, we got it all cleaned up now, so all you have to do is just block this off on the back sides here, and I still got to rough it up a little bit on the inside there, and then we'll be filling all these bits here. Once we get that all filled in and dry, then I'll probably put the template down. I'll draw all the holes and where the holes have to go for the Windlass. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make them, I'll cut them out big, and then I'm going to fill those, and then I'm going to pot them properly and drill and cut down the center. Instead of this, where when they manufactured the boat, they kind of just did a rough cut here, and it's a bit water damaged in here. It'll be stronger because it'll have a good solid wall of epoxy all the way around, but also it'll seal off the decks. Anytime you're, especially on the platform or anywhere where you're going through cord fiberglass, always good to, you know, if you got to drill a 1/4 inch hole, drill a 1/2 inch hole and then bore it out, fill it with epoxy, then bore it out to 1/4 inch or 3/8 or whatever, and then that way you got a good solid sleeve of epoxy that seals off the core and gives it a lot of compressive strength and that sort of thing. I think I'm done here for today, unfortunately. I'll be back here, well, hopefully tomorrow or maybe even later tonight, and then I can start blocking off the backside and get that filled with epoxy. And one step closer. We've got 2 days before the Windlass and chain, and I got to go pick up the King starboard for the base. So that's coming on Friday. We're at Wednesday now, so if I can have most of this stuff done, that'd be great. Just a little closer to completion then. Alright, so I have actually filled in the old holes here with epoxy. You can see the outline there of where the new Windlass is going to be. And I've done I pulled a string there all the way from the anchor Windlass to get, that's where the chain lines up with on the Windlass. And so I've drilled the new holes here where it'll mount, and I've already blocked off the backside, and now I'm going to fill these so then I can drill them out after and they'll be nicely potted and that sort of thing. And then I got to cut out here and here, and those will be the holes for the Windlass. All this ugliness is going to be covered up with a big plate right around here. Okay, so I just got the epoxy all mixed up here, and then I just poured it in each of these holes here and filled them up. It looks like they're curing now anyway. And once that's all dry, then we can kind of move on to the next step. So it takes a little while to actually, you know, kind of epoxy all these, you know, drill out the holes bigger, and you know, I go and put some masking tape on the bottom side, then a little patch of duct tape, and then just to build it up a little bit. And then what I do is I just take a small piece of like 1/8 inch just wood laminate, and then I just sort of take some really short screws and screw it down underneath. Otherwise the epoxy tends to melt the glue, and then it leaks all over the place underneath, and takes forever to start setting up. And that's what I've done here. So when I did the epoxy last night and now, it doesn't leak at all through the bottom side. But and then when you're finished, you just pull that little piece of laminate off the bottom, laminated wood, and you can peel the tape off, and then you got a nice clean job underneath. But yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a time-consuming step, but definitely worth it. And if you want to do the job right and you want it to be nice and strong, and seal off the decks, it's an important part of it. I'll be completing the same process on the deck holes as well, and that's not really for strength. That's more just to keep the deck sealed. But unfortunately, the only jigsaw blade I have had a broken tip, and it was too short to actually cut through the decks there, so I'm going to have to do that after. We're just back at the anchor locker here up front in the forward cabin. So this is the wood underneath the deck there, and I've taped it off, and then I just screwed this wood down temporarily just to keep the epoxy that I've put down in the holes to pop them from leaking down and allowing the tape to unstick and leak the epoxy all over it before it sets. So I got to strip out the wiring here and the old relay pack, and because the new Windlass comes with a relay pack and stuff that's probably better than what I was using. And I've done a kind of a basic clean out here. There's a little bit of staining in here and stuff, but there was a little bit of particulate in there, but surprisingly this is pretty much how it came. Better than I've seen in the past and on previous boats. One thing I do is when I'm bringing in the anchor, I do have a saltwater wash down that I try to wash the anchor off every time, and that makes a huge difference. When we got the boat, it had a lot of really bad corroded chain, and one thing that corrodes stainless, even 316 grade or anything, is if it's sitting in like salty, silty mud in the bottom. So the bottom of the locker, when we got the boat, it actually had probably about ½ an inch of silty mud down at the bottom, and any of the chain that was in contact with it was just pretty well destroyed. For the last while, I have had a little bit of rope in there because I had rope on the bottom, which that does an effective job of keeping the chain out of any sort of mud or in the bottom of the locker. But I'm going back to all chain rode as part of this process, and so I picked up this material here. It's kind of they use it for garages, and it's about, I don't know, about 3/4 of an inch thick, and it's kind of a hard plastic, but it kind of allows, it'll allow, if there is any mud or water or anything, it'll allow it to sort of sink to the bottom and then sort of drain away off to the scupper drain up in the front there. So all I did is I just sort of made a little template, and then I cut the corners off here to something that sort of resembles home plate a bit. So if I go and I put this down in here, it'll fit it right down in there at the bottom of the locker. You can see the drain hole down there in the corner where the water can escape. If there is any mud, that should actually do a reasonable job, I think, of, sort of keeping that in the bottom in between cleaning the locker. I usually like to clean out the locker, get all the chain on deck, wash it down, maybe remark it or something, and then actually sort of do a nice wash down inside the locker and get any debris out. Like I said, I'm pretty surprised how clean it was. This might be a good step in keeping it just a little bit better. All right, so we have the new Lofrans Cayman series Windlass, all dry fitted. It's all lined up with the anchor pulpit. Yeah, I still got to do the electrical, and this is just a dry fit, so it's all got to come back off and get bedded down with some Sikaflex and stuff. But so yeah, I got to pull it back off one more time here, and put down the bedding compound. I think the dry fit looks pretty good. I think it went into place pretty good, and no doubt it's going to work as planned. So maybe tomorrow we'll get the chain loaded through it into the locker and get the anchor back on, and then it should be ready to go once again. All right, so the anchor windlass is mounted on deck. It is fully bolted in. Everything's done there, which that moves us on to the electrical portion. So I've already started pulling out. That was a little mounting block we had, and we had a few relays like this for the up, one for the up, one for the down. So this is the relay pack that came with the Lofrans. Yeah, it's a much better setup than what we had before. So I'm just removing all the existing wiring. You can see that's all here. So that came from all up in here. The old windlass was mounted in here and had the cables going to terminals on the motor, where this one, it just has wires coming from the motor. So I'm going to be putting all the connections onto these upper terminals, and that will give us the connections for the foot switches as well as the soft switch from the flybridge to be able to operate the windlass remotely. Anyway, I'll have to start, I think they got all the stuff removed now, so I have to start building it up, and might have to crimp a few connections, and shouldn't take too long though, should be pretty easy. All right, I think I got this pretty well rigged up here. So I've recycled this piece of starboard that I had the old relays and stuff mounted to, And so I just put a couple screws in there to hold that. So this will be our power here, and then one of these will be up and the other one will be down. Those are our low voltage switching from the flybridge here. That's our negative right there. Negative comes here. Positive feed that goes to the flybridge through this wire harness goes here. And we got our circuit protection here. And then this one goes to our feed, which will go to, that'll go to the source electrical supply there. So I think we're pretty well ready. I'm gonna have to customize a few of the high amperage leads and clean up a little bit of this wiring and secure it afterwards, but a nice little easy setup to do. We'll get that in place and then see if it works, and I might have to swap around a wire or two to get the direction correct with the instrumentation on the deck and the switch up top, but yeah, looks like it should be pretty easy. All right, I have managed to get all the chain down to the dock here, and if you look behind me, you can see it all laid out back here, all 300 feet of it. So this is what 300 feet of 5/16 HT chain looks like. So I think we're going to be marking it every 50 feet, and I'm going to use colored zap straps. So at the first 50 mark, I'll put several green. At 100, then I'll put several blue, and then another 50 feet yellow, and then another 50 feet will go red. And that probably should be good enough. We'll see. Kind of debated on doing paint, but you know, it doesn't really matter what you do. It seems like it ends up wearing off or coming off. Or you can get a chain counter. That's about a $500 option. So I don't know, couldn't really justify it. Okay, we have our bitter end here. So this is the first bit that's going in the locker, and we're going to do a tie off inside with a piece of rope. And these are the last warning markers that the chain is approaching its end.
I can just hold this here if you want to get up on the...
Okay. Alright, so if you want to hold that.
Okay, I'll hold that.
Okay, I'll take this. Okay. All right, I am going to go inside and I will tie that off and then we'll get started.
Okay, so should I kind of hold this and guide it a bit to kind of keep it in line here?
Let's see how it goes. You might not need to. We'll kind of just watch your feet. Wrong way.
Yeah, I just don't know if I have to kind of help guide this.
We'll see how it goes here.
Okay. Okay, but do you want me to kind of help guide it a little bit?
No, I just don't want you to get hurt, right?
No, I know. Just kind of do it slow and then we'll kind of just see. Okay, I just don't want it to kind of swing and hit the bow.
Yeah,
right?
hold the outside where that hole is there.
This?
Yeah, just sort of lift it over and let it kind of go down. Here, I'll go up a little bit.
Okay.
You can probably let go now.
Yeah. Okay.
What's the deal here? Is this thing not?
Was that last bit?
That's it.
Perfect.
So this actually is a clutch.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to actually just let it down without power, we
Right.
can go like this.
Uh-huh.
And actually the other way, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I see. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you tighten that up, and then you can. And then it actually just spins on that clutch. It doesn't actually go kunk and try and rip the pulpit apart, right?
Yeah. Now, is that how we're gonna have? Did it always kind of sit up this high before? On the other one?
No, because the other one was lined up with down here, right? Where this one comes up to here.
Okay, so it's probably fine, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll probably get something to do something there, but
Yeah.
whatever. There we go.
I wonder if you could even
And there's also a little dog here that you can push in.
just keep it going.
And then you can actually loosen off that clutch and use this independently with the anchor already set.
Right. Now, that one little kind of guide thing, put your hand down.
This?
Yeah, that. Can you move that down this way, or so
not
it
really.
more kind of helps? No. Okay.
No.
I just didn't know if it would be more beneficial this way with this setup.
Maybe I'll have something that goes from the cleat to here or something.
Right.
Like just a little piece of line that I can put there.
Yep.
And there we have it. We now have a new windlass and all new chain, and our rock is back in place, and I think we're ready to go now. Okay, I'm just up front in the anchor locker, and you can see the finished installation here. So we have our relay box, control box there, and we have the circuit going, the gray wire going up to the fly bridge for the switching, and then it goes to the deck switches, and so you can either use the deck switches or you can use the fly bridge controls. All the brand new chains in there, all 300 feet of it, and that concludes the windlass install. So I guess we'll get to try this out probably on the weekend when we go out, so definitely looking forward to it. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you have any questions about the install of this windlass, please feel free to leave a comment or ask a question. Thanks.